There
Hey,
we go.
John.
Hey, Eric. How you doing tonight?
I'm all right. How are you? How's vacation treating you?
Vacation is treating me awesome. I'm very much enjoying being on vacation. Uh, yeah, let's see, we flew out on Saturday. We're down in New Mexico at the moment and have been just basically road tripping it around. We're going to visit a whole bunch of national monuments and national parks and see lots of ruins. So one of those will be my something fun much later. But
Ah, what,
yeah, so
out of all the states with monuments and national parks, why'd you end up in New Mexico?
I've never really spent any time here. I wanted to go to Santa Fe, just
Ah,
to go to Santa Fe. I don't think I realized quite how many parks and ruins there are in this area.
hmm,
But I think the only time I have been in Albuquerque or New Mexico at all was at some point I was on a flight out of Texas, I think, on a way too small plane, and they got diverted and wound up having to do a not emergency landing, but they planned the fuel pretty tight, and we had to refuel. We had to land in
right.
Albuquerque and refuel in order to get home.
Hmm,
But
okay.
to the best of my knowledge, that's the only time I really have been in New Mexico was sitting on a plane on a tarmac for like 2 hours. It was the least exciting state visit ever, probably. Um, but yeah, so
Okay.
we we spent the first day in um, well, let's see, yeah, in around the Santa Fe area. Saw first ruin was Pecos down there, a little bit south of Santa Fe, and then went to downtown Santa Fe, and then the second day. Oh, this is the cool thing. We went to Los Alamos, but in the spirit of not having truly planned it, the tours of the Los Alamos lab are not running, thanks COVID. And
Oh,
the science museum is closed on Mondays. So we they did have a Los Alamos museum that was cool, and they well, it turns out they threw up all the buildings to house like 2,500 to 5,000 workers
right,
during World War II in like
right.
order months, and they were not built to last. So, where all of that was, there are a few permanent structures that are still there, but most things have been taken back down. And there's
Got
a
it.
there's a park basically where the center of the Manhattan Project was, in the
Okay.
40s. But anyway, that was still cool. That was
Cool.
that was still really cool. And then today we were up in Colorado actually at Mesa Verde. So that'll be my something fun. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
But got a couple more days. I'm gonna go to a place called Chaco tomorrow, which looks really cool, and then and hopefully catch a late night stars. But I don't know. We tried tonight, but there was just too much light pollution where we are. Even though we drove, a few miles out of town. I
Hmm.
think you need more than a few miles. Um, but anyway,
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah. Okay.
It's good.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, how about you? Anything fun the last week?
Um, so I spent the weekend just going through a laundry list of projects around the house to fix and repair it. Right? We had refinished the floor in our garage. So part of it was putting everything back in the garage, but in that process, um, cleaning and getting rid of stuff rather than
Sure.
just put it all back.
That can be exciting, to be honest.
Getting rid of stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the so here's how let's say mundane, the tasks were that I was excited about. We found this place that recycles styrofoam. So you know how you get that styrofoam packing stuff, and it's so
What?
cute. Like, especially if you get a big box of stuff,
Yeah.
right? It's all in that big chunky white styrofoam, and if you break it, it sticks to
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
because of static cling.
Totally.
Well, I had got a rowing machine that came
Mm-hmm.
in a box with large amounts of that, and we've just been collecting it in the garage because
I
I had
did not
heard
know
about
that could
this
be
place
recycled.
that you can recycle it. And so we loaded it all up in my truck, drove to this place, and sure enough, they take styrofoam and they recycle. I don't know what they do with it, but there's a place, 20 minutes from my house that apparently takes packing peanuts, anything that's styrofoam, but not they had like types of styrofoam right outside. They said, we do not recycle this type. And, with signs on it saying to check it out. Cause there's a kind of a spongy kind of styrofoam that they don't do, but basically the hard, molded styrofoam, there was tons of it. So that was also a task on the to-do list that was fun, getting rid of all that. I have those timer switches that you put on bathroom fans, so you can just press a button and it'll leave the fan on for 20 minutes and turn off. Well, it had gone bad and was making a buzzing noise. I watched some YouTube videos on that, and the comments were these light switches use very cheap magnets. So if you take them apart, replace the magnet, you can just reuse it. I started down that path of, hey, I'll just replace the magnet because YouTube says so.
Oh.
And then
For like
I was
a
like,
$10 switch?
yeah, I mean, I bought a little bit more expensive one than that, but yeah, roughly.
Okay, $20. I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah,
I don't know what they cost.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, I went out and I looked at it first, and then, I'm just going to get a new one. And I got a nicer one with LEDs, and, you can change the time up to an hour. It's for like the master bathroom fan to turn on and off. And anyways, so instead of having a buzzing noise whenever I turn it on first thing in the morning and wake up the house, it's now soft and quiet again. We got new floor mat. I mean, mostly it was just going around the house, fixing the list of things that kind of has slowly not been bad enough to require immediate attention, but so
just
it was
fighting entropy.
Yeah, exactly. So it was that, and we watched as a reward, we watched The Atom Project on Netflix.
Oh, I forgot.
It's really quite good.
Okay, now is that just a movie or a show? I forget.
It's a movie, so it's just a movie, hour and a half. It was good. It wasn't like, it's a Netflix show. That could have been in the theaters and could have, I probably would have paid money to go to the theater to see it. I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was kind of in the same, sort of the same vein as Free Guy, a little bit. Well, maybe not so much, other than it's every Ryan Reynolds movie there is a theme. There's a style to every Ryan Reynolds movie.
Sure.
But yeah, it was good.
Well, I will have to see, because it's on Netflix?
Yes, Netflix.
All right. I will have to see if our hotel tomorrow night has Netflix so that we could actually watch it on a TV other than like a laptop screen. I think the family watching it on a 12-inch laptop screen might be underwhelming. We might wait until we get home if that's
it is. It is kind
option.
of a movie you want to watch it on a big screen.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't have to watch it in a movie theater, but 12-inch laptop, no, probably not so much.
Exactly. So. Okay, cool. Thanks for reminding me. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was my weekend. Nothing super exciting, just kind of fixing the mundane and moving forward. So.
Yep. Well, my next weekend will be returning home, so that'll be also exciting. It's all good. It's all good. Well, hey, I threw one thing in follow up, which was about the a Conti linked cybercrime group. So this is a what they call a initial access broker. So this is a crew. Here's the quote: a crew specialized in gaining entry to high value networks and then selling that access to other cyber criminals. And then they believe there were some. The reason this is tied is that there were some aspects that they were able to link between them and the Conti ransomware organization, which we talked about a week or two ago in the context of the massive data leak, not leak, the data doxing, I guess, that was done of Conti when Conti came out in favor of Russia.
Right.
During the invasion of Ukraine. So this is, it says that in early September, researchers with Google's threat analysis group started tracking a financially motivated hacking group. This is the thing. They gain the initial entry, but then they sell it. They basically sell access to whatever that organization is to the highest bidder. But they were found exploiting a quote, since patched Microsoft vulnerability. Google's calling them, quote, exotic lily, and says that they, quote, employed relatively novel tactics to gain access to targets, and how at their peak, the hackers sent an estimated 5,000 emails per day to as many as 650 targeted organizations globally. But one of the unique things about this is that there was a lot of manual work involved in these targeted. You know, this is not just spam. These are actually operators working a fairly typical 9-to-5 job with very little activity during the weekends, but basically handcrafting letters and personas on social media and LinkedIn, etc., to socially engineer access into the various companies. So kind of a follow up in the sense that this is one of the places where Conti likely got their initial access.
Right.
I don't know exotic lily. Yeah, I didn't see anything in this article, at least, that gave them a geographic locale. Lily makes me think Asia, but I don't know. I don't know what they're saying. But,
okay.
So that was my follow up. Kind of a well, not a big enough thing to be a topic, probably.
Right.
But
all right.
Well, what did you bring for topics tonight?
So the thing that I stumbled across was referred to as a browser in the browser phishing attack.
What?
And so what this basically is you can replicate the entire window design, including the menu bar, tabs, the URL bar, the little lock icon, and everything inside an iframe using just straight up CSS and HTML. And so any login window can now look visually like the exact same thing popped over your browser, because there's a lot of places now that you click the button, log in with Microsoft, log in with Google, log in with Apple, log in with whatever, right? And that's the new way. And typically, or at least to the end user, you think, oh, I'm clicking that and it opens a new browser window, which you then log into. You do this at work as well, right? Typically, if you're Office 365 or wherever. So basically, this researcher has basically figured out, if I can just trick the user into clicking a button on something that I control, I can make everything visually look like, if they're savvy enough to look at the menu bar to make sure it's google.com or microsoft.com or facebook.com and not, facebook.com, with the extra O or
Oh, this
anything.
is brutal, Eric.
It makes the browser the login screen look exactly like it. So, um, the comment in here is, hey, that this research says, hey, with this technique, we are now able to up our phishing game. The target user would still need to land on, our website for the pop-up window to be displayed, but once landed on an attacker-owned website, the user will be at ease as they type in their credentials on what appears to be a completely legitimate website because the trustworthy URL said so. Now, there are some limitations to this approach, right? It might deceive humans, but it's unlikely to fool other software like your password manager. Probably is not going to try to autofill the credentials on that browser window because they don't see, it doesn't look like a real browser window to them.
Right.
Right? It looks like that. So the trick is how do I get, someone to click on my bad website and then click on the, log into Microsoft or log into Facebook, whichever button, whichever credentials I want to steal. The way to do that is ads and ad networks, because ad networks allow you to run JavaScript and create little iframes. You see it all the time in websites. Yeah. So that malicious code can come through some kind of ad in the iframe, and
or notification,
that iframe
probably.
Yeah, exactly. Or notification. The iframe's not secured, so it's just injected into the parent page. The bad ad could cause that browser in the browser phishing attack pop-up to appear and say, hey, you need to log into Microsoft. And people who do that, or Facebook, they just, all right, whatever, and they just type it because it's going to look right. It's not. Anyways.
It literally says facebook.com on the top.
Correct.
In what looks like a URL.
Exactly.
Bar.
It's, in the link that we'll put in the show notes shows the real Facebook site, the fake Facebook site, and at the bottom of it, there's demos. You can click them and do it yourself. Look at what they look like yourself. So, I be curious to see how quickly this becomes a used option for phishing attacks. I thought it was kind of clever, kind of cool, and browser rendering engines apparently are getting really, really good.
Yeah. Browser is the new OS. Ugh.
That's like Netscape 1994, though.
I know. Well,
it's finally happening.
Yeah. Next will be Linux on the desktop.
No.
I know. Next year. So I brought two. My first is Germany. So the U.S. Issued warning or guidance to U.S. companies not to use Kaspersky antivirus software in 2019. Sorry.
1918.
22 years ago. In 2019. But this is an article that Germany's cybersecurity authority has warned against using Kaspersky specifically, not because of any known issue at the moment, but simply because being a Russian-based company, that there's a chance, a possibility, the potential that the government of Russia leverages the deployment to either spy or to launch cyber attacks, as they say.
Right.
So Kaspersky is obviously frustrated by this and says that it has been, quote, made on political grounds and that it has no ties to the Russian government. And the BSI, which is the German Federal Office for Information Security, didn't make any allegation of current problems.
Right.
But the other interesting part of this article, there wasn't a ton in it. It was, it's just a warning. But the interesting part of this, one interesting part of this, I thought, was that Kaspersky says that its data processing infrastructure was relocated to Switzerland in 2018, and that they go through third-party assessments to, quote, confirm the security and integrity of our data services and engineering practices. I didn't know that.
I thought that was a result of the whole U.S. thing, poo-pooing Kaspersky products.
The dates don't line up, but maybe there was something earlier, because this says that they relocated in 2018. So
I want to say we talked about it on the podcast, so it's been at least within the last 5 years.
Yeah, no. Well, I remember talking about the U.S. Warning a couple years ago. That would have been 3 years ago. But I did not go back and look and see what if any, episodes we talked about that in. But anyway, that was my first thing, though, of Germany's warning.
Yeah.
The second, which is a particularly timely thing, I guess, is actually I had a different article, but then I noticed there was an updated one just an hour or so ago from the Hacker News. But this is about another Lapsus victim or victims, because both Microsoft and Okta confirmed that they have been victims from the and the Lapsus crew is the same crew that penetrated NVIDIA a couple of weeks or a few weeks back.
Yep.
So I haven't really been, we were out of cell service all day today. I haven't really been online too much, so I haven't seen anything else.
The Okta
from
stuff.
Okta.
The Okta stuff was all over the Twitterverse today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this seemed like the big thing. Has Okta come out and said anything substantive though?
No, and that's what the Twitterverse was a little up in arms about.
Up in twits about
the weasel words used by Okta were they were not particularly forthcoming and left themselves
so bad, such a bad example.
Anyways,
especially as a security company, you gotta lay it out there.
Yeah.
So have you read anything else about the fact that this potentially happened a couple of months ago?
I didn't read into any of I didn't click through to any of the articles, just kind of watched the talking heads on the Twitterverse.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much oil on the things that the actual hackers are saying.
Right.
Too much, but Okta did acknowledge the breach. Saw that basically a customer support engineer working for a third-party provider, so contractor, I guess, the attackers had access to this engineer's laptop for 5 days between, well, it didn't say for 5 days, during a 5-day window, sometime between January 16th and 21st, but that the service itself was not compromised. Oh, maybe that's the point. It was January 16th to 21st. It's about 2 months ago.
Right.
So that doesn't imply, or that doesn't say when Okta knew about it, though. Anyway, so the other thing I saw about this was that I read a tweet by Cloudflare saying that they had asked all of their, or they had forced anyone who had changed a password in the last 4 months to, for their password to expire. But then there was a comment in the article that said that in the case of the Okta compromise, it would not suffice to just change a user's password. The attacker would also need to change the hardware token configured for the same user. So basically, if you see somebody, one of your if you're one of the potential Okta customers who was attacked, and you have the hardware tokens deployed, and you have one of your employees who changes not only their password but then says, "Oh, hey, I got a new hardware token," that's suspicious. So that seems like something that's relatively easy to disallow, for the time being. So that's good. I suspect there'll be more, forthcoming over the next, days or week.
Yeah,
so,
I'm sure there will be.
Yeah. The last little bits about this are just more about Lapsus, which it says first emerged in July 2021 and has been on a hacking spree in recent months. Impresa, Brazil's Ministry of Health, Claro, Embratel, Nvidia, Samsung, Mercado Libre, Vodafone, Ubisoft, now Microsoft, and Okta.
Mm-hmm.
And that they, they're basically a bull in a china shop. Break into the network, steal data, blackmail, and publicize on the Telegram, which, well, that's another topic. Telegram. Anyway, so that was the second article there.
Yeah, not even bothering with ransomware. That's too complicated.
Yeah, the quote in the article is pure extortion and destruction model.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, alrighty.
Yeah. All right. How about something fun?
Well, I have two something's funs.
Something's fun. All right.
Something's fun or something funs?
I'm going to go with something's fun.
Something's fun. I have two something's fun. So the first one is basically a book. It's a website with a book, and it's all of physics in 9 lines.
What?
And so it basically describes a 9-line summary that states that general relativity and the standard model of particle physics describe all of nature. So it's the statement: nature dislikes squander. Nature dislikes hurrying. Nature dislikes excessive force. And it shows you the physics equation along with it. Nature dislikes sloth, right? Nature dislikes perfect order. Electric charges are conserved and attract or repel. So,
this is awesome.
These 9 lines basically can describe all of physics. And at the bottom, it kind of says, no known observation and no known measurement contradicts any of these 9 lines. All 9 lines determine all equations of physics. And, and it's got the math behind it and the everything behind it. So it's kind of cool. And it's a free online book. So if you want to go read it, I thought this was just kind of a fun little,
This is awesome.
Yeah, isn't it just kind of fun? So if you want just an intro to this, 9-line summary of textbook physics agrees with 400 years of experiments. And it even goes to, which jumps into something fun for me, part 2. The 9 lines resulted from the work of millions of scientists during the last 400 years. Galileo started around 1600. Line 1 resulted after 150 years. Line 5 from 1824 to 1929. So each line, it talks about where it came from. Things like all 9 lines contain all natural sciences: physics, chemistry, material science, biology, medicine, geology, astronomy, and engineering. Anyways, fun stuff. There's even a humorous link to, the 9 lines given on this page. Correct the humorously 9 wrong 9 lines found here. So,
in an XKCD.
Yeah, there's something fun number 1, and something fun number 2 is OMSI, the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry, right now has a Galileo exhibit.
Ooh.
Which my wife, and it's spring break this week.
Yep. Hence
and my wife and son
trip.
went. Yes, the reason you're not here. Um, my wife and son went, and they said it was really cool. They had life-size replicas of a number of his inventions over the years, and all these fascinating facts about Leonardo da Vinci. And they had like replicas of the Mona Lisa, and a lot of his work. And one of the fun facts about Da Vinci, which if I knew previously, I'd forgotten since, was he was born um, illegitimate, and so he didn't have access to schooling growing up, and he wrote backwards. So he wrote in from right to left because he didn't know. He basically taught himself how to write and wrote backwards, which I don't know that I was aware of that.
I thought that he had written in like mirror script to kind of help keep his notebook secret, but maybe I'm not remembering that right.
Maybe that was the event. Maybe that was the eventual. That was just a fun fact my wife mentioned. Anyways, so OMSI, if you're in Oregon.
How long is it there for?
How much longer is it here? I don't remember how much longer it's there.
Well, it only opened March 19th, and normally they're there for at least months. A few weeks, on a month or two.
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll have to make a point.
Yeah. So there you go. Those are my two somethings fun.
All right, that is awesome. That is awesome. Okay, my something fun for tonight is going to be the place we visited today, which is a national park called Mesa Verde. And, so this is also has relationship to podcasting because there was a podcast we had read, I think yesterday or the day before, that there was a podcast that basically you could listen to that described each of the stops around a 6-mile tour, and it was narrated by a Park Service employee who is a descendant of the ancestral Pueblans that lived in the ruins that are up on the mesa and in the cliff dwellings. So cool. I did not realize how large this area was. It was a huge area. I thought, it's going to be a 6-mile loop. No, you go from the entrance of the park, you drive 20 miles in, up onto the mesa, and then down, to I guess kind of the western side of the mesa, where the actual 6-mile loop is. So it was an all day thing, really. But there are tons of stops. There were, I think, 11 narrated stops, but there were a few others that you could do too. And it basically takes you from about 550 AD, where the people were just starting to build houses, and mostly pit houses on top of the mesa, through the 650 to 850, where they were actually building larger pueblos, like 1 and 2 story buildings. And then in the later portion of the settlement here, I think it was around 1100 to 1300, they moved basically over the cliffs and built massive structures inside here. They have 40, 50, 60, 80 rooms in some of these ruins, and they're just fantastic. In fact, one of them, Cliff Palace, is the largest cliff dwelling in North America. It was huge, and it was very cool. It was extraordinarily cold and windy because it is at 8,500 feet at the high point, and which makes
It's still winterish.
It is winterish. Yes, it is March. So it was, and there were a couple of canyons where we were like, okay, we're gonna get blown over by the wind.
Mm.
Anyway, this was quite an adventure. I highly recommend it. I am I didn't realize this was even possible, but if you come in the summer, and I presume if you schedule well ahead, and if you are in good enough shape that you're willing to go scrambling, up and down 100-foot ladders, you can actually go on tours down inside some, or at least around, and I'm not sure how close they got, but they show you going in and like through tunnels in the ruins themselves. So that is something that I would love to do at some point.
Huh.
But
So
anyway,
how far north of like how far a drive was that? Because that's in the what, southwestern corner of Colorado?
this is in near the Four Corners area of Colorado. So
Did
we're
you
in
go
kind
check out
of
the Four
north.
Corners?
We did not make it there,
Mm.
and I don't think we're going to make it.
Okay.
It was a possibility, but there's just too much to see.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, but we're gonna have to come back. Yeah, so you should check out the link that we'll put in the show notes here to the National Park Service. But and I'll try and put a photo of one of the larger cliff dwellings in the chapter art, because I took lots of photos.
I was gonna say, looking at the pictures, it's hard to grasp scale. I mean, because you see windows in, looks like, multi-story buildings, but
Yeah,
it's just surrounded by rock, and so it's not, are those really tiny houses? Or,
they are not gnome houses. But that being said, they are not. I'm not sure they're like 10-foot ceilings.
Right.
But no, yeah, some of these were, there's like one that's a 4-story tower.
Yeah.
And there's lots of others that they also go deep too. So a lot of the, especially when they talked about the pit houses up above, or almost all of the ruins include what they call kivas, which are underground circular chambers that we actually went down inside one in Pecos, which is really cool. They and kind of ingenious. At some point in this period, I think it was around 800 AD, maybe 9. They discovered the technology of basically having a vent. So they have a fire down in the middle of this circular chamber, but then they have a vent off to one side that, boy, how did that the right above the fire they'll have an opening, so the smoke could go out if they could basically create a air movement. But so off to one side of it they have a chamber that basically goes out like 3 or 4 feet, 2 or 3 feet maybe, and then up, and then the cold air will come in there as hot air from the fire rises and goes out the hole. It'll pull and draw in cold air
Right.
through the vent, and then they have like a stone in front of the fire, so in front of the vent hole, so the cold air doesn't just like pour the fire out. But then you get kind of supposedly the smoke doesn't just gather inside the chamber, and it's down far enough in the earth that it's cool in summer, and this is very hot in these areas, and warmer in winter. It's very, very, very cool. Very cool. So much,
Nice.
so much to learn.
Very cool.
So-
Yeah. I've seen pictures, but I've never been there, but it does look fun.
This was the something fun. And yeah, actually the National Park Service was kind of cool. They had a part of their springtime visit, at least, was if you have a couple hours, do this. If you have a day, do this.
Right.
If you have a couple days, do these.
Right.
And that was cool. And one of the things, if you have a couple days, they did for the Starry Night, because they in 2021 it said that Mesa Verde became the 100th International Dark Sky Park. But we are not there. So anyway.
Right.
Anyway, we'll see. All right.
Well, cool.
Well, hey, let's call it a show.
Yeah. Enjoy your vacation.
I will.
The rest of it.
I will. And I will talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, John.
Have a good night, Eric.
We'll see you. Bye.
Bye.